I remember arriving at the cabin with Mary and the kids, Emily and little Sam, and feeling an almost cinematic sense of Christmas serenity. The snow fell in thick, perfect flakes, blanketing the forest around us in pristine white. Icicles hung from the eaves of the cabin, catching the light of the fading afternoon sun like frozen chandeliers, and inside, the fireplace crackled warmly, casting long, dancing shadows across the wooden walls. Twinkling fairy lights adorned the small Christmas tree we dragged in from the car, and the faint smell of pine mingled with Mary's gingerbread cookies cooling on the counter. It was everything I thought I wanted. A perfect, isolated Christmas away from the noise of the city, away from the demands and distractions that had worn us down all year. I remember feeling an almost childish glee at our own little winter wonderland, the kind you see in movies and holiday cards. Unaware of the cracks hidden beneath the surface, the isolation, which initially felt liberating, started to nag at the back of my mind as night approached. With no neighbors for miles, no streetlights, no other cabin in sight, the tranquility was complete, almost unnervingly so. I shook off the thought. We were safe here. This was Christmas, after all. At first, the disturbances were small and almost laughable. I was the first to notice the faint scratching sound at the edge of the window, like tiny claws against glass. "It's probably the wind," I said to Mary, who was humming a carol while arranging ornaments on the tree. She smiled, her eyes soft and warm, but I could see the slightest crease of worry, fleeting, and quickly dismissed. Later, as I carried Sam to bed, I swore I heard a whisper, low and fleeting, almost beneath my hearing, like a voice that didn't belong to any human. I froze, straining to hear, but the only sounds were the children's sleepy breaths and the occasional pop of the fire. I told myself I'd imagined it. It was Christmas Eve. The mind plays tricks when you're tired, right? But then the lights flickered. Not dramatically, just a small quick pulse, as though the room had hesitated between light and shadow. I felt a shiver crawl down my spine, the first true hint that this night might not be as peaceful as it seemed. I tried to rationalize everything, even as the oddities multiplied. The scratching returned, louder now, skittering along the outer walls of the cabin. Shadows in the corners of my eyes seemed to stretch and move with their own consciousness. I caught a glimpse of something at the edge of the hallway, a dark shape that vanished the instant I looked directly at it. Mary noticed the unease creeping over me, and she tried to maintain the festive mood, baking cookies, singing softly, making the kids laugh. But even she flinched at the sudden cold that seemed to pool near the fireplace, a cold that wasn't coming from the winter air outside. We laughed it off, joking about our haunted Christmas cabin. But beneath the jokes, I felt the first real threads of fear. There was something here, something unseen, and the isolation that had felt idyllic now felt like a trap. The more I told myself it was nothing, the more the feeling of being watched settled deep into my bones. Then came the night, when the illusions of calm shattered completely. I was tucking Emily in when a loud bang echoed from the kitchen, followed by the clatter of something heavy hitting the floor. I ran, my heart hammering, only to find the gingerbread cookies smashed, their pieces scattered across the tiles. Mary was behind me, her face pale, whispering that she hadn't touched them. And then I saw it, a shadow, moving just beyond the edge of the doorway, shifting in ways that defied human movement, slipping against walls as if the laws of physics were meaningless. I froze, unsure whether to run or confront it, and that's when the whispering came again, louder now, curling around my mind, seeping into my thoughts. Emily began to cry softly, calling for her mother, and Sam stirred, his small hands reaching out for comfort. I grabbed Mary's hand. The three of us huddled together and realized that the presence in the cabin wasn't just an oddity. It was a predator. Panic replaced rational thought as the night stretched on. Every sound was magnified. The wind, the creaking of the old wood, the whispering voices that seemed to echo from inside the walls themselves. The lights flickered, plunging us into sudden darkness that seemed absolute, suffocating. I could feel it moving around us, testing boundaries, brushing past invisibly close enough that I could feel the cold heat of its presence on my skin. Mary was shaking now, trying to keep the kids calm, but I saw the fear in her eyes matching mine. The cabin no longer felt like a haven. Every familiar object, a chair, a picture frame, the fireplace, was suddenly a potential trap. We attempted to leave, but the snow outside had become a wall of white, a blizzard that seemed to swirl unnaturally around the cabin, blocking every exit. The Christmas carols we'd played earlier felt like a cruel echo now, a soundtrack to an unfolding nightmare. I remember the first direct encounter vividly. Something slammed against the door, a violent impact that rattled the frame and sent shards of panic through my chest. I grabbed the nearest object, an iron poker from the fireplace, and swung blindly, striking nothing but air, the force of the motion barely satisfying the raw terror coursing through me. Mary was screaming now, holding the kids tightly against her chest, and then I saw it, or at least glimpsed it. A figure, faceless, cloaked in shadows that moved like liquid, stood in the corner of the room, watching. It made no sound, but the room seemed to hum with a cold malice, a presence that didn't belong in the natural world. I shouted, tried to force words through my panic, but my voice felt trapped in my throat. I realized then that logic and reason had no power here. Survival depended only on instinct, and instinct screamed at me to protect my family. No matter what this thing was, the hours that followed were a blur of fear and desperate action. We barricaded doors, huddled together in rooms, and tried to stay quiet, only to have the creature test us relentlessly, flicking lights, moving objects, whispering our names in voices that weren't human. I felt a primal rage alongside the terror, a fierce need to defend my family at any cost. There were moments when I thought it had breached our defenses entirely, glimpses of its shifting, ungraspable form passing through walls and corners, defying every law I'd ever known. Mary clutched the kids and we ran from room to room, sometimes crawling, sometimes stumbling, each shadow threatening to become something far worse than we could comprehend. My mind kept snapping back to the absurdity. This was Christmas Eve, a time of peace and joy. Yet here we were, fighting for our lives against a being that shouldn't exist. Somehow, morning came. The shadows receded with the first pale light of dawn, and the blizzard outside had passed as if it had never been. The cabin, once a festive wonderland, now bore the marks of our ordeal. Broken ornaments, toppled chairs, and a lingering chill that no fire could dispel. The kids were exhausted, silent except for the occasional whimper. Mary and I sat together, holding them, trembling from adrenaline and relief. I knew that what we had faced was real, even if no one else would believe us. The police, the neighbors when we finally got back to civilization, all shook their heads, attributing our story to stress, imagination, or cabin fever. But I could still feel it, lingering at the edges of my perception. A presence that had visited us and left its mark. Even now, years later, the memory gnaws at me. The smell of pine, the soft twinkle of Christmas lights, even the simple joy of a warm fire, all carry with them the shadow of that night. I often wonder how many families enter a season of joy and find themselves confronted by horrors they cannot explain, in moments that should be safe and sacred. The illusion of Christmas calm is fragile, deceptive, and easily shattered, leaving behind the kind of fear that claws at the soul, unrelenting. Our ordeal has taught me that peace is never guaranteed, even in a place as idyllic as a snow-covered cabin at Christmas. The lesson is simple, yet terrifying. Even the traditions we hold most dear can become the backdrop for unimaginable horrors. And no matter how strong or prepared we think we are, there are forces and presences that exist beyond our understanding. Forces that strike in the quietest, most sacred moments, and leave nothing but the memory of terror in their wake. I sometimes lie awake on December nights, listening for the faintest whisper, the scratch of claws against wood, or the soft flicker of a light that isn't supposed to move. The fear never fully leaves, and I don't think it ever will. What happened that Christmas Eve was not just a story, not just a nightmare we endured. It was a confrontation with something entirely other, a reminder that darkness can infiltrate even the brightest, most celebrated moments. And in that reminder lies the truest horror, the knowledge that safety is always conditional, peace is always fragile, and in the blink of an eye, a perfect Christmas can become a battle for survival against an unseen, relentless, and utterly terrifying presence.